The jury took 90 minutes. He got life. That's how you'd sum up the case against Daniel Ashworth in one flat sentence, and for 28 years that sentence held. Then, in a storage locker in Fresno, someone found a cassette tape, a retired detective's personal files boxed up after his death. On the label, 4 words in ballpoint: Voss, pre-interview, do not file. And on that tape, the woman who convicted Daniel Ashworth named somebody else. So why did the state's only eyewitness say one name in a police interview room and a completely different name on the witness stand? Here's the official story, the one the jury believed. On the night of March 3, 1996, Daniel Ashworth's business partner, Raymond Coleman, was found dead in the office of their shared warehouse on Delta Avenue. A single gunshot wound, no forced entry, the safe untouched. 2 men had a partnership going bad. A disputed loan, a lawsuit filed the week before. The prosecution's case rested almost entirely on one woman, Carol Voss, a night shift dispatcher who worked 2 blocks away. She testified she saw Ashworth leaving the warehouse at 11:40 p.m. wiping his hands on his jacket. No physical evidence tied him to the trigger. Voss's identification was the case. The jury believed her. Ashworth went to San Quentin. The tape changes what believed her means. It's a 90-minute reel, recorded 4 days before Voss ever took the stand, in an interview room that doesn't appear anywhere in the trial transcript, because officially it was never logged. In police work, this is called an undocketed interview. A conversation that happened, that was recorded, but that never entered the chain of custody, the paper trail proving evidence hasn't been altered or swapped. If it's not in the chain legally, it doesn't exist. On this tape, Voss is calm, specific, and certain. She describes a man leaving the warehouse that night, middle height, limping slightly on his left leg, driving a 2-tone pickup. She gives a name, not Ashworth. She gives Raymond Coleman's cousin, Peter Voss's own second cousin by marriage, a man named Glenn Tabor. That's the contradiction the verdict can't survive. Ashworth was 6'2". He'd never had a leg injury in his life. He drove a company sedan. Nothing about the man Carol Voss described 4 days before trial matches the man she pointed to in court. Something happened in those 4 days. Somebody talked to her. And whatever was said, it didn't just sharpen her memory, it replaced it, swapping a limping stranger for the defendant sitting at the table. Here's why that tape never reached a courtroom. The lead detective on the case, a man named Ron Petrosky, had a habit, confirmed later by 2 former colleagues, of running what he called clean pre-interviews. Informal conversations before a witness's story was locked into an official statement. Petrosky's theory was that early accounts were unreliable, so he'd let witnesses settle before recording anything binding. But nothing stops a settling conversation from becoming a shaping one. The tape sat in his personal files, never docketed, never subpoenaed, because the defense had no way of knowing it existed. You can't request evidence nobody admits was collected. That's the locked room this case has hidden inside for 3 decades, not a literal door, but a filing system built so that only Petrosky knew what he was choosing not to file. But the tape wasn't even the strangest part. Buried in that same box was a supplemental fingerprint report, dated 1 week after Coleman's death, that never made it into discovery either. A partial print lifted from the underside of Coleman's desk drawer, the one containing the disputed loan documents, was run against Ashworth. It didn't match. It was never run against anyone else, including Glenn Tabor, because by the time the report came back, Voss had already given her courtroom identification, and the file was, in the department's own language, resolved. A print with no match, a name with no leg injury, a witness with 2 different memories, 3 loose threads, and someone chose not to pull any of them. If Voss's first account was accurate, Daniel Ashworth has spent nearly 3 decades in prison for a limp he never had, while a print sat unmatched for a man who was never asked to give one. Petrosky retired with a full pension in 2003 and died never having explained the tape. The district attorney who tried the case became a judge. Glenn Tabor was interviewed once in 1996 and never again. Nobody benefited from that filing cabinet more than the people who never had to open it. Ashworth's appeal is pending on the tape alone, but no one has yet compelled an answer to the only question that matters now. If Carol Voss told the truth the first time, who did the state spend 28 years protecting instead? I've written the full 900-word narration for the witness who changed everything after the verdict, built around a fictional case, Daniel Ashworth/Carol Voss, following your hook template, script flow and retention beats. Open loop on the tape, secondary mystery on the fingerprint report at -30%, pattern interrupt reveal at -70%, and an unresolved cliffhanger question at the end.